Hey everybody, good morning. Hope you like the intro music to our conversation today. I kind of enjoy that, but it's as soon as I start talking, the music goes off, so I wasn't sure how to keep it playing. We're about to get going here on our conversation on content creation, monetization strategy to build a digital business. This is the Power Connection chat. We're on every morning at 11 a.m. I'm starting a couple minutes late because my son is home studying for an English exam tomorrow for grade nine. And so I was giving him some tips on how to study, and he just looked at me blankly like, what the hell are you talking about? So it was a very monotonous affair, and hopefully he has some tools to help him out. But yeah, that was not the most fun thing in the world. And of course, and two both of my co-hosts, who Indra's one of my regular co-hosts, and Melanie has been coming up to once in a while now. Now she's here today as well, which is great. So just to start off again, I'm going to start pinging people and putting in the feed up above the actual tweet because we want to get more people in this room so they can take advantage of what we're going to talk about today. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this topic, content creation monetization, two reasons. One is yet last week I did a 5-day thought leadership brand program, and a big part of it was how to use content and how to build a digital business and how to monetize. And one of the things I told people on the last day of the 5-day challenge was the promises I was willing to share with them. I said to them quite frankly, I said that if you do the work and you follow my methodology and you stay consistent, I can guarantee you doubling your digital business, whatever it is, wherever you're at. And I make that promise not lightly, but like knowing that given that, I've been able to do that for other people and the success I've had, I'm sure I can help people with that. So I said that. And the other reason why I'm doing this today is because also this Friday, I'm running a 3-month mastermind program on multi-content platform and digital monetization. So that's going to be a really great thing I'm doing with Melanie and another friend, Ilya Francis, to help people with TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So that being said, let's get going. And I'd love to get Indra to introduce herself, and then she can pass on to Melanie to introduce herself, and then we'll keep going. Welcome, guys.
Well, good morning to Bobby and good morning to everybody else. It is a wonderful sunny morning in California, so truly blessed. Uh, my name is Indra Bartona. I'm a producer in the film and television industry. I'm a TV host and also the founder of the Positivity Vibe Tribe, a global community. I also have a lifestyle YouTube channel, and that's where we talk about all things that are positive, gratitude, the law of attraction, just so many more topics. So, love for you guys to subscribe to my channel from my link in my bio, and looking forward to this amazing discussion with Bobby and with Melanie. Thank you.
Thank you, Indra, and I'm glad to get a chance to be here today. And welcome, everybody. My name is Melanie Mitchell Wexler. I am actually a career coach, a job search expert, and a LinkedIn strategist. And I work with clients throughout North America in helping them leverage their backgrounds and help them pivot their careers and land new jobs that are going to push them forward in achieving their goals. So I'm really super excited to be here. I also help entrepreneurs in particular with really establishing themselves. And so, which is why content creation, of course, not only for myself, but also for my more entrepreneurial spirit clients and even job seekers, why it's really important in being able to establish a brand. So I'm excited to be able to talk about that today.
Awesome. And if you can all help us out by bringing more people in the room, by number one, you can click on the bottom right bubble there and share your questions or just share that you happen to be here. And you can also click the arrow on top there and you can tweet this out to people to say, hey, join us for this room. You can tag me, tag Melanie, tag Indra. And if you tag me, then I'll retweet it to my 500,000 followers, which means more people come in the room and more people might follow you as well. And you can also DM people with that arrow button, and you can automatically quickly DM 20 people just by clicking on your latest DMs, and that's another good way to get people in the room. A little bit about myself. My name is Bobby Omar. I'm a motivational speaker, professional speaker. For the last 17 years, I've traveled around the world and delivered 1,000 keynotes and workshops across 4 continents. I'm a 5-time TEDx speaker, having done 5 of those talks and rejected 3 of them. And my areas of expertise are leadership to begin with, but over the years, I became known for networking and authentic connection. Then I became known for personal branding. Then I became known for more digital marketing, digital influence across like LinkedIn, Twitter, and other platforms. And now, I'm known as I focus on thought leadership and how to build thought leadership through your digital presence and your digital presence, your content creation, your building meaningful relationships, as well as mindset, speaking, and storytelling. That's kind of what I do. And I typically help people get clarity in their personal brand, and then I help them build a thought leadership brand, which leads to, and then the whole reason why thought leadership brand building is so important is because it leads to the outcomes that most of us want. Most of us want to double or increase our revenue with digital content. Most of us want to have more clients. Most of us want to have more programs. Most of us want to maybe get speaking gigs or a TED Talk or a book deal or media appearances. Most of us want to get more opportunities. If you're a corporate career person, you want to get more leads within your organization. You also want to get more promotions with it there, as well as leads for jobs outside. And by building a thought leadership brand, that's precisely what you're trying to do. It attracts people to who you are, what you're doing. It gets people excited about working with you because they're clear on the value you deliver, and that's kind of why I'm a big believer in it. And in previous week we talked about the different essentials of thought leadership, and one of the pieces was content creation and digital presence. That to me is a huge thing. So the question I'm going to ask you guys in the audience is, what are you doing to build your digital presence? Are you building digital presence? I mean, great. Have you optimized the profiles? Yeah, that's wonderful. Are you creating content? Because content is a huge game changer and a driver. And I'll tell you why. I mean, here's something interesting. 70% of people on Twitter don't tweet. They just consume. They listen, they read, they scroll. They don't actually consume any content. And here's another stat for you. 5.2% of LinkedIn users create content. The rest do not. They read, they consume. Content creation is a clear way to demonstrate your expertise, to invite a conversation, to build trust and credibility, and then to target your content on the people you really want to serve, particularly for building your digital business. And so that's why it's so important to have a content strategy as part of it. And building a digital business, again, optimize your profile is just the beginning, but there's so much more you can be doing on that. And so we'll get into the monetization part in a second, but I want to just focus on the importance of building a digital presence. What are you doing? And what is your content strategy? So with that, you're welcome to come on stage. Tell us a bit about what you're doing with your business. What are you doing with your content strategy? And what areas do you need help with? And are you doing it just on Twitter? Are you doing it on Twitter plus LinkedIn, Twitter plus, Instagram or TikTok? How are you integrating it across the multiple platforms? That's kind of what I want to get into. So I invite you to just put your hands up. Let's get you on stage. Let's hear you. Let's learn from you and hear what you're all about. In the meantime, I'm going to pass it over to Indra, then Melanie, to talk a bit about. Um, let's start with the basics, which is the importance of having a digital presence, setting up a presence, and then the aspect of what you're doing from a content creation standpoint. So, Indra, why don't you go first?
Thanks so much, Bobby. So I think this is a really important point because for many of us, and I'm going to say I started off not really being aware of the power of just having a digital presence. I did have my Twitter account for quite a long time, and it was really only a year and a half ago I just started to be have this awareness of the account, and what it can do and how I can build a brand. So, I started off with like 200 followers. And, because I have just been giving it some time and attention and putting some thought towards, well, okay, well, what is my brand? And around this Positivity Vibe Tribe brand, in fact, it has really, really started to grow, and I've been connecting with so many people just from doing this. So I'm giving you the example of like Twitter, but then even over on Instagram, I have become more active, and it is amazing because you do start to grow And the thing is, your brand is really even if you don't have a personal brand, but you have an account, you are your brand. So, I always think it's almost like, well, what are you selling? Like what are you posting? It's just some kind of basic initial thoughts. So over to you, Melanie.
I agree with you too, Indra. I mean, for myself, when I started my business back in 2017, I kind of did everything. I always joke I did everything wrong when it came to um, when it came to content. I've never really been great with Instagram in particular. I do have an Instagram account, and I definitely try to be there. But my big area was LinkedIn, truthfully, and I went all in on LinkedIn. And it's taken me a while to kind of get into my groove. Where's my sweet spot? How do I create content? How do I go from creating content that resonates with my audience? Last year, probably a very low point for me was I got kicked off temporarily from LinkedIn, and it really made me realize, okay, let's not have the eggs in one basket approach. You have to have a multi-platform, content strategy, which is beyond just dabbling. So that's really kind of where I'm at this year, focusing. I've started on TikTok. I had some good momentum. I need to get back into that and make that a regular practice, just as I've done with LinkedIn. And then also, but I've also been able to. I like to be able to show up here more on Twitter, doing Twitter spaces like this, and then also utilizing my YouTube and really expanding my reach. And that's my ultimate goal this year, is just expanding my reach from different platforms and reaching different audiences, people that I would attract as my audience on different platforms. So back to you, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie. And yeah, I think that, when it comes to, and again, when it comes to in the start of being clear on your profile and your presence, right? I mean, a lot of work has to be done on the personal branding piece, right? Being clear on your brand, how you set yourself apart, how you're distinct, how you're unique, who your target audience is, and then setting up your profiles on Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and the other platforms to make sure it's really clear who you are, what you do, and how you help people. I think that's an important piece. And then when it comes to content creation, there's lots of things you can do. I mean, obviously, I tweet things, I post things on LinkedIn. I typically like to do video content every once in a while. So video content on Instagram, I'll share it on Twitter and LinkedIn as well, on YouTube as well. So those are things that I'll do. And of course, hosting these audio rooms. So I host this weekly room on Twitter Space. I also do rooms on LinkedIn Audio on Tuesday. I'm doing one on Tuesday at 4 p.m. And I co-host another one on Thursday at 2 p.m. And so those are things I do to, again, share my knowledge, to build trust, build a community with people that are, in my audience, like I'm doing here, so that, you have a chance to access me and you can actually access me, understand a bit about who I am and how I operate. And then, you can come up on stage and ask questions around about your business, about monetizing. And that's kind of what, that's kind of my overall strategy. It's a mix of all those things. Um, Melanie, and I know, like, I think Indra and Melanie are interesting co-hosts for me because I think that their strategies are a little bit different than mine, and so I think they're having success with them. So I would love for Indra to talk a bit more. I'm going to Melanie talk about newsletter, but I'm going to Indra to talk a bit about uh, you've been using Twitter communities very, very effectively. I have not. I actually have one, but I never use it. But you've actually done something really well with that. So can you talk a bit about uh, you leverage that as a content creation strategy and how it monetizes for you?
Okay, so yeah, no, I was sort of lucky after the first initial wave of opening the Twitter communities. I pretty much jumped in there and started the Positivity Vibe Tribe community. And I think it's a really wonderful idea. I did start a community over on Facebook, and I didn't have as much success over there in growing the community as I did over here on Twitter. So I don't know, it is a different beast, Facebook. but I certainly do seem to have found the tribe over here in the Twitter community. So it has been a gradual process, and pretty much what happens is, I mean, initially, I sent out, you send out your invitations to all your friends and your family that you know on Twitter and everybody you can think of, and that's, like, okay, so there's wow, there's 100 people in my community, and then what has happened is it's been very organic. That now I had to actually close my community. So if you do want to join, guys, there is a link on my in my bio and just on the page. It's a pinned tweet. There's a link. So feel free to request. But I actually had to close the community because it was just getting. What happens is when it gets to a certain size, there are just too many people, that crazy people that start to want to get in there, and so they were posting all irrelevant things, and basically it's about posting something that's inspirational, that's positive. It's a positivity vibe tribe community. It's all good things like that. So I close the community, but every morning when I wake up, I have all these requests for people to join the community. So it's really wonderful how what happens is the word spreads. And, people say, hey, you should join this community. I'm over here. And then, so it's just the word is growing and spreading because it is such an amazing community. Um, yeah, so I started off, it was very small, and now I believe it's just over 7,600. So it's been growing, and it is, but as I said, I think it's growing a bit slower because I have closed the gates on the community. So you have to actually request. And by doing that, you can actually set up the rules. So when everybody requests to join, they actually have to accept the rules that are there for the community. And that's a good thing about that. And then, you can funnel those people and you can post things. I invite them to the spaces that I have. I post all those sorts of things that are exclusive, the newsletters. My newsletter is now off platform. It's now on Gumroad, so then I'm funneling people over there. So you can kind of start to funnel your people into different directions. So over to you, Melanie.
Yeah, and then for me, LinkedIn is obviously still the place that I go as a career coach. It's, it is where my audience has come from, and I've, been really being in the last year and a half really focusing on expanding that and basing it off of referrals. But I kind of do a different approach because I really wasn't. I still do create content. I mean, I do create content, but I wasn't really, I don't know. I never really had like just this mass success with any of the content that I created on LinkedIn. And I guess in some ways I probably felt a little even detached from it. If that makes some sense, where I just like I wasn't committed to it because I wasn't having the success. But really, so I've kind of taken a different approach in the sense that last year I really went all in on just full on engagement. And I know that some people may say, well, how is that content creation? And I'll explain here, and for example, how I do this. I just went on full on engagement. So I specifically target, for example, like LinkedIn news editors from major publications like Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Harvard Business Review, anybody that's putting out any articles related to the career space, workforce, job seekers, whatever it may be. And so I started getting noticed more and more by LinkedIn News, getting my comments featured in highlights from them, and that was bringing my audience to me. And so that was where my audience was coming from. They were checking out my profile. They were reaching out to me to schedule calls about hiring and working with me. And now, what I've done, now that I've kind of gotten that process down and I'm really committed to it and I have a routine, I'm taking those comments that I'm making and taking that content and making it into content. So I'll take a comment that I made on a LinkedIn news article, and I will flip it over and I'll do a quick video on TikTok and just responding to the question. And now I'm creating those videos, putting those videos up on my YouTube. and sharing them over to Instagram. And so now I'm in essence creating content, but also repurposing it at the same time, sharing that exact same type of content or that engagement that I've used in creating content for my LinkedIn page. So that's one way I've done that. And then I've also fully embraced the newsletter feature on LinkedIn. When it came out, I was very committed. I gave myself a goal of putting out a LinkedIn newsletter. Mine's called The Pivot, once a week. I was very good up until the time that I got kicked off, and then I took a break just because I needed from that. It was just an overall bad experience, so I just needed to take a break. But I'm back at it, and I do get a lot. I do get a fair amount of engagement from it, and it's I'm able to do something that I enjoy doing, and I think that's one of the keys is that is something I enjoy doing. I've always loved writing. I've loved writing stories. Goes back to high school and college where I was, in journalism, and I've always written like stories even as a kid. And so I love writing and I love long form content. And so I think part of the reason too that I've had good success with that is one, I'm consistent. So I think anytime you're doing content creation, you have to be consistent with what you're doing. But also it's something that I love doing. And that I think is reflected in the content that I'm putting out. So those are kind of the two different ways now that I'm really, how I'm using the platforms, but doing it in a way that works for me and is playing to my strengths.
Awesome. I love that. And yeah, I think that you and Indra have done some very unique things to build your community to showcase your expertise. And I think that's something all of you have to think about in terms of what are you doing specifically that can showcase your expertise with a content strategy that's different than other people. And you want to play your strengths, right? I mean, some people, like I have a newsletter, but I honestly don't like preparing or writing a newsletter. And so I don't do it as often. Whereas video content, yeah, count me in, man. Doing videos is like completely my forte, and I'll do a bunch of them. And sometimes, videos don't do so well compared to other types of content on LinkedIn, but I still do them anyways because it to me is like the easiest and best way to put stuff out there. So that's something that you got to do. You got to play to your strengths and know what you're really good at. Video content, of course, I think is a strategy that everyone should be on board anyways because video content, especially short form, the Instagram Reels, the YouTube Shorts, the TikTok videos, all these videos that are under a minute, even 15 to 30 seconds, is a fantastic strategy for your content. It shows who you are, it shows your personality, it shows your energy, and people really love that. So I think that you should all think about putting together some sort of video with your content strategy. I'm also a huge advocate for audio rooms, so like Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse rooms, LinkedIn audio rooms. The reason why audio rooms are so powerful is because uh, democratize podcasting and giving people an opportunity to come on stage to talk with you and be part of this and showcase who they are. Which, by the way, if anybody wants to come on stage, just put your hand up. Let's get you on stage and talking a bit about what you're doing and what your questions are because that's why I'm here. But the idea with audio rooms is to make things accessible for everyone to hear my authentic audible voice. You also hear Indra and Melanie, so you get a chance that there's a real person behind the face and the brand, and that's another reason why we do these rooms. So for me, audio rooms are still a big part of my strategy in terms of what I do. So again, if you're here and you're seeing what's going on, I encourage you to. I posted a tweet of Melanie's, and a tweet of Indra, so you can like retweet their stuff and get to know them a little bit better and follow their stuff. I also have the original tweets of promoting this room, so we'd love to get you to help promote the room. Just retweet that stuff. We'd love to have you do that. You can also click the arrow above, DM folks. You can also just, again, tag people and tag me so that when I see it, tag me so I will see it, and then I'll retweet it. And next thing you know, it goes to my 500,000 followers, which means you'll get followers and people come to the room. So, but most importantly, I would love for people to come up on stage. Just put your hand up and come share what you're up to, or share a nugget, or ask a question, whatever you want to do. But that's another way for you to set yourself apart. If you want to be seen as a digital thought leader, or even a thought leader in general, part of it is stepping up and showing up and putting your hand up and speaking. And I'll give an example. Actually, there's a woman on LinkedIn Audio that we in my room every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and she shows up and puts her hand up and comes on stage every single time. And by the fifth or sixth time, we all know who she is, and we all recognize that she's ask even though she's asking questions, she's actually starting conversations and starting to become seen as someone who makes stuff happen. And so I think that's incredibly important to have yourself step up and be seen by people. And so that's why I say put your hand up and get yourself on stage. The last thing I want to say is that the last tweet that's in the nest above is on Friday. I'm starting a 3-month mastermind group coaching program for just 8 people with Melanie, another expert. Melanie is a LinkedIn expert, and I'm a Twitter and LinkedIn expert, and then we have Ilya, who's a TikTok and Instagram expert. And so the four of us are going to take people through 3 months of helping you put together a multi-platform content strategy that actually makes money. And so we're going to go through your business, go through your brand. There's going to be one monthly call plus 24/7 messaging, and we'll basically be able to answer all your questions, give you homework, and make you accountable to getting some good results in the next 3 months. So if you're interested in that program, take a look at it. It's run by the Thought Leadership Branding Club, which is a mastermind community that I run. Which, by the way, I should also mention, and Melanie probably knows about this too, but the Thought Leadership Branding Club, it's a membership community, and we actually have weekly coaching, weekly like community collaboration calls and a little bit of coaching. And we actually have a private WhatsApp group, and people share their goal. Like this morning, everyone shared their goals and stuff. It's kind of like Indra's Positive Vibe Tribe community. Like we have this community online, and we actually have these 2 calls on Thursdays and Fridays, and we're having what's called Bring a Friend Day. So Bring a Friend Day is actually happening this Thursday at 4 p.m. and this Friday at 10 a.m. One or the other. If anyone's interested in being part of that and want to join me, I'd love to have you show up. So just ping me and DM me, and I can send you the details. All the members are inviting different people, and you'll get to see kind of how we check in and collaborate with each other. You'll see we'll do a little bit of training too, but then we'll hear a bit about yourself, and it's really more of a support and accountability group. But I think you might find it really useful to be part of that group. Um, so with that, again, any questions, put them in the bubble box down below there, or come up on stage and ask your question. Um, I guess maybe the next thing to do is really get into the monetization piece. So maybe uh, I'll go to you, Melanie. Why don't you tell us a bit about how you're monetizing specifically with your digital strategy?
My biggest way is really developing, honestly, relationships with individuals. And it's some of them have been short term, but looking at the people that are replying to my comments. So again, if I make a comment on a LinkedIn news article, that's not necessarily, that's already been created, I'm still tracking those people that are commenting. I'm still tracking the people that are liking, because what often I find, especially with job seekers or individuals looking to make changes with their careers, is that they're fairly quiet. They're not often the ones putting out content. They're not, creating things. They're watching. They're watching from the sidelines. They're absorbing information. Partially because of, I'm sure some fears of being seen by employers and things of that nature. So really being able to say, oh, reach out to them and go, hey, thanks. I appreciate your comment. I just wanted to, acknowledge your time that you did that. And I really liked what you said. And then also being able to, hey, I'm also very open to connecting with you and would love to connect with you, and seeing if they are open to that. And then that's what's really building that strategy of building, that relationship. It's not something that happens immediately, but now what I'm seeing repeat clients that are coming to me for other things that they're going through at different stages of their careers, because they're continuing to watch. But I have people that schedule a discovery call with me literally probably at least once a week, at least one person a week, that will tell me like, oh, I've been watching you on LinkedIn. Oh, you're really big on LinkedIn. And I kind of, I still laugh to myself at that, because I don't necessarily, I look at others like, oh, they're the big deals on LinkedIn. But it's always nice to hear. But again, it goes back to, those are not necessarily the people that know how to reach out to you and connect with you. So I open that door for them and acknowledge their, acknowledge that. Or I'll see people that continuously like my content or like my comments. If they followed me, I'll, start opening up that door. So that's really how I've taken those watchers and then develop them into actual connections and getting them to kind of connect with me, not just by following, but also saying, hey, if you also want more help, insight, here's the link to you can subscribe to my off. I have two newsletters. So I do one for my private community. And you can subscribe to that. It's totally different content. So you're not even going to see that anywhere else. And, you can connect with me there as well. So, and being able to get additional assistance. So being that, resource for them is really the door that I try to open for them and then build a relationship from there.
Hey, Melanie, let me ask you something. How many followers do you have on LinkedIn?
I followers on LinkedIn, I have over 22,000. And then I have
22,000. And how often, how much content have you created in the last couple of years?
Uh, probably less, like on average. No, so I always do a poll on Sundays. So last week I think I only did 3 pieces. So a poll on Sundays, 1 piece of just general content regarding networking, and then I did my newsletter.
But I mean, so how many posts have you done in the last couple of years? Like, would you say a couple hundred?
Maybe.
All right. So so what do you think I'm getting at, Melanie?
Well, I definitely get where you're going in that. The reality is it does not, you don't have, it doesn't have to be this large gigantic, because there's a lot of people out there. I will tell you, I'm sure you guys have heard these people tell you you should be posting content 5 days a week or 7 days a week. I've seen people do challenges like, let's post,
Every day for like
every
365 days, which I thought was crazy.
exactly,
Because
like 300. And guess what? Sometimes life. So I'm big on, like, I just created a piece of content this morning about joy. And it's going to come out, and I pre-scheduled it. It's going to come out on Friday on LinkedIn, but it was just really like, yeah, goals and plans are great. I'm big on planning and I'm big on goals, but you know what? Sometimes we just need to like stop and not be so attached to them. And we need to be more present and we need to be more focused, because guess what? We have no control over what's happening in our lives.
Sure, sure, and not to get sidetracked, but my point is
Right.
that you have 22,000 followers, you post thrice weekly, you've done hundreds and hundreds of posts, and only 5.2% of people post on LinkedIn. So what I'm saying is that you're kind of a big deal
Oh.
on LinkedIn. Okay,
Well, thank
that's what I'm
you.
saying. I'm saying you're kind of a big deal, and so that's why people are following you. That's why people are saying, "Yeah, she's doing some really good stuff. I want to know what she's up to." So, I think that's some, and again, it is you only gonna you. It's all relative, right? I mean, we can compare ourselves to the people with 100,000 followers. I mean, some people say, "Oh, Bobby has half a million followers, and I only have 5,000." But 5,000 on Twitter is actually really really good, and and you have to think about what percentage that is. That like what percentage of people on Twitter are above 5,000 followers? It's actually pretty small, right? So it's important for us to recognize that. You just build and be consistent. And I think Melanie's point about relationship building is really great. Indra, I'd love to hear. Oh, go ahead, Melanie. Anything you
Yeah,
want
and
to
I
add?
was also going to just say too, sometimes we get caught up in the numbers, and the reality is this: I only need, it's not that I need 22. I mean, yeah, great. If I had 22,000 clients, we'd be having totally two, different conversation and a totally different business. I don't, I need really a small percentage of those to turn into customers. And that's the reality of it. That's where I'm at right now, and that's all to really be super successful for where I want to be. You don't have to have those. So you don't have to have hundreds of thousands and, followers or, even connections. You can build from where you're at and build that. So I think that's also something important to remember too.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so going to you, Indra, I mean, can you tell us some strategy or tips on how specifically you're monetizing with your digital business?
Okay, Bobby. So first of all, I just wanted to say hello to some friends that I sent an invite to. Hello to Dan and hello to Stephen. Thank you so much for joining us. And hope to see Rose back. She was here a moment ago. So thank you guys for dropping in. Always makes me smile. And I want to say Hello, and warm welcome to all the other people that have joined us, new friends. And so, do feel welcome, everybody, to hop into the chat and ask a question or request to speak, because we'd love to really hear your voice up here and get some interaction with you guys. Particularly Bobby is the ultra expert here. He's doing it. So I would say that I am on the beginner trail. I'm at a different level to Bobby with my monetization, but I have to say that sometimes it has surprised me. For example, um, some of my creative work in the industry has actually been through people reaching out to me on LinkedIn. So that is pretty incredible. Uh, my current project is through a connection on LinkedIn. So you never really know. But as far as monetization, well, I do have subscribers on the Twitter. I also am monetizing on my Instagram account. So by doing reels, I kind of didn't really even realize what was going on with that, and then I just kind of fell into it by accident. Like I saw these messages saying, oh, you're on the beta program for, the reels. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I better start, putting some reels out. So, of course, it's always going to be my content over on Instagram is all very positive, inspirational posts, gratitude, law of attraction, self-care, talking about meditation, affirmations, and all those sorts of things. So that's kind of how I have been starting. And of course, I do have a newsletter. And funnily enough, I have had, quite a few inquiries about um, actually my positivity coaching. And that's come through Twitter. And last year I had a couple of people that I coached for 6 to 8 months on there. And it looks like I'm going to have a new client very soon that somebody just reached out to me in the new year. So there's different ways that you can monetize. And I am really, learning and studying how Bobby does it. So, I'm just really happy to be here sitting right next to you. And of course, Melanie is very experienced as well.
Well, I mean, I think that the one thing I will say though is that again, I was trying again to compare it to Nitus here, but what I would say is that you have a positive Vibe Tribe community, which I think can easily be transformed into a membership community, and I think that's
Mm,
something that you can create. Like, I have free communities, and then I have kind of low end, low fee communities, and then I have higher end fee communities, and so it's important to kind of manage all those things. Running my LinkedIn audio rooms and my Twitter Spaces is my free community where I build people up and help them, invite them to grow. And then eventually some of them join the smaller low end membership fees and the membership groups, and then they join the higher end stuff, or the different levels. I think that's important to have. And again, going back to again, we're inviting people up on stage. I mean, even if you come on stage and just speak for 30 seconds and just say and introduce yourself, that sets you apart compared to everybody else. I'm giving you an opportunity right now to come up on stage and just say hi. And even if you don't ask a question, even if you don't share a nugget, are you willing to step up and say hi and be part of this conversation? Because again, that's going to set you apart. So that's all you got to do. And if you don't want to do that, fine. But this is a chance for you to come up on stage, be part of this thing. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to share the replay of this event. I'm going to retweet it out there. You're then going to say, "Hey, here's me. Here's something I said." And then see, as soon as you take a picture of this event with you on stage, and then you tweet out, "Here's the two things I said, and thanks to Bobby and Indra and Melanie for having me there." I'm going to see it. I'm going to retweet it to my followers, and that's all win-win stuff. So that's why we try to get people to come on stage and to say hello. Okay, now everyone's coming up. There you go.
Hello, Bobby. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, but we got to go in order. So the first one up actually was Rachel. So Rachel, you get to go first. Please go Go ahead with a question or
Sure,
comment.
yeah. I just want to thank you, Bobby, so much for doing the space today. Indra, Melanie. I don't know anybody here. This was just recommended for me to join, but I would really love to change that. Seems like you all are a group of really positive humans.
Hello.
If any of you guys are working in like the Web3 space, I have some upcoming events I'm working
Are you
on.
guys able to hear me?
Yeah. Um,
We are, but we're waiting turn, so Rachel's speaking
Sorry.
first.
So I'm doing a lot of work for Ethereum Denver. So I just want to welcome each and every one of you to reach out to me if you're going there and to connect. I'd love to connect with all the hosts today and share about this space and just learn more about all the projects you're working on. So thank you all for your positive energy and for doing this space today.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. And I think part of coming on stage and sharing this, I mean, even just that gives us some information about who you are and what you're doing. And now what I will tell you is that I was running an NFT space on Twitter Spaces for several months. I stopped, and I was doing it specifically to promote NFTs and NFT projects and artists. And also, I had a couple of NFTs that I was trying to promote that I was working on collaboration. So, and also I was trying to learn about it because I didn't know much about it. So for me, Web3, I'm glad you said that because that's a perfect segue, actually, because next week I actually have a guest speaker from LinkedIn. Her name is his name is Sumaya, and she has like 55,000 followers on LinkedIn, and she's a total
Awesome.
NFT Web3 expert, and she's going to talk about how to use Web3 to build a
Oh
business.
man, that's
So
that's right up my alley. I curate a space every week for independent workers and freelancers. Like my mission is to help democratize employment and empower freelance workers and people to become self-sovereign, right? If they want to run their own business, I'm actually doing an education session this week on running your own business education. So I'm actually bringing on a lawyer that works in the Web3 space to talk about the legalities of incorporating yourself, getting benefits, basically becoming like having all of your human needs met that you need to thrive. That's something that I really focus on. And I'm bringing that education into ETH Denver. My team helps to put it on. So if any of you are familiar with Ethereum Denver, it's the largest and longest running Web3 conference in the world. So yeah, if any of you want to learn more about it and come hang out, it's really just a good place to vibe. We call it a community innovation festival. It really is more like a festival than a conference. So yeah, I really hope to see some of you there. And Bobby, I would love to connect and join your space you were talking about.
yeah, thanks. So it's going to be every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So that's when it's going to be next week. So make sure you miss it. Don't miss it. I'll probably do a little bit. Normally, I don't do that much advanced promotion of our
Mm-hmm.
rooms, but for this one, I probably, as Melanie will know, I'll probably create some sort of Canva image and start
Nice.
sharing it out there.
Yeah, I've gone through
So
that flow.
my,
Definitely send me the
yeah,
information on that, Bobby. I'd love to join and support you guys.
okay, perfect, perfect. So that's a great segue. Now, the other person that was on stage but left, I wasn't able to speak, so it's fine. But let's go to the next speaker. Tamu Sigia, go ahead with your question or comment.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Indra. Thank you, Bobby, for sharing. I always sit back and listen. It helps me learn. It helps me open me up to the way people see things in different perspectives. So I rarely grab the mic or ask to speak. But thank you so much for sharing. This is helpful. From my end, it's helpful. I get a lot of value. I learn a lot. It helps me. I'm in a different economy, so when I'm listening in these spaces or when I'm listening to you, it it helps me see things in a different way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And let me ask the people who got Rachel and Tumway who come up on stage here. Let's go to you, Tumway, first of all. I mean, you're active on Twitter? Are you active on LinkedIn as well, or where are you actively sharing, setting up profiles and maybe sharing some content?
So I would say both. I am active on LinkedIn, but I'd say I'm more active on Twitter just because of the nature of the Twitter spaces that I'm hosting. And the Web3 community is a lot more active on Twitter, I would say. But yeah, you guys can connect with me on both. And Bobby, I'll share my link tree with you just to share all the links and different ways to connect.
Uh, I think from my end, I'm more active on Twitter. LinkedIn, I'm not so much active. Most of my LinkedIn, yes, I haven't I have around 1,200 followers, but most of the followers that are on my LinkedIn are followers within my own economy. So I engaged so much on Twitter because I wanted to connect with people away from my own industry. Let's say if I'm in Africa, how can I connect with people from outside Africa? How can I learn from them? How can I get to know them or something like that? So I'm more active on Twitter than LinkedIn.
Yeah, and one of the reason I'm asking is because there's a reason why I recommend, multi-platform strategies. Because the thing is, yes, NFT Web3 people are far more prevalent on Twitter. That's true. But LinkedIn has a very thriving professional network of people who have money, who invest in things, and are willing to potentially and it's a great way to reach a new diverse audience. So having a multi-platform strategy is a way for you to reach that diverse audience and repurpose your content because if you're doing a space, Rachel, here, take the highlights, take an audio clip or whatever, whatever it is, and then take some of that piece, put it on LinkedIn, and that's part of that's a post. And same with anyone else. You could focus on content on LinkedIn where you're reaching out to people that are not from Africa and say, look, I'm trying to open my network, and you start reaching out to people with content, and you can hashtag certain topics and areas that can actually be seen in front of other folks. There's lots of ways to use that, and so for me, I'll share what I do in terms of how I'm going to say very specifically how I monetize. Okay, so my easiest way to monetize is I run social audio rooms on Clubhouse, LinkedIn Audio, and Twitter Spaces. In doing so, I then invite people usually to move them towards my primary platform, which is LinkedIn. And in doing so, I ask them to follow me and ring my bell to get access to my content and the things that I'm doing. And then, if they start engaging my content, I start getting into direct messages with them, building that trust and whatnot. And then depending on how the conversation goes, I'll invite them to some of my free content. I'll give them value. I'll invite them to my weekly rooms that I'm doing on a regular basis. And then eventually they might take my webinar. They might take one of my smaller low end type things. And then we book a call. And that's when I say, hey, how can I help you? What are the things you're working on? And if I can help them, I will. I'll say, look, here's how I help people, and here are the different layers and levels and costs and whatnot. But if that doesn't work for you, I have people I can connect you to, and here's what can work for you. But at the end of the day, I always ask people like, what's the outcome you want? Because most people, don't want to do the work. They don't want to invest. They don't, they're all apprehensive. And trust me, I'm the same way. But when I find the right person, and I find that there's someone I trust, and me, I promise outcomes, and I'll work with people to get them. Then typically I'll work with them, or they'll work with me. And so the coach I worked with, he promised me an outcome, said I get my investment back, and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And I invested a big amount of money in him. And instead of 12 months, which was the plan, I got my money back in about 3 to 4 months. So, you know what? That was great. And now I love the guy. I'm working with him again and we have a meeting tomorrow. I'm gonna launch another program next month. And I have lots of programs. Like I'm running a social selling workshop this Thursday, which is free. I'm running the 3-month mastermind on monetizing content and strategies across digital multiple platforms. That's this Friday. If you want to join us, click the link because you're going to read incredible value in that link. It's up in the nest above. Just take a look and read it all because if you don't think there's value there, I want you to direct message me and tell me why you don't think that there's value there. And if you are unsure, I want you to direct message me and let's have a quick call because I'm going to tell you why it's going to be awesome because it's going to be a small group and I think that you're going to get something out of it. So take a look at that link above and let me know what you think. But for me, the monetization piece is that the other thing that comes with monetization is you have to know your value wherever it is, because the general rule of monetization from a digital standpoint is the closer they get to you, the more they should pay, right? So the person who's wants a one-on-one consultation with me for an hour, that's going to be the highest price level than the other stuff where it's a group, or where it's just an ongoing thing. So for example, the membership agreement I talked about, That's relatively straightforward. It's only $30 a month, right? Remember I said the Bring a Friend Day happened on Thursday and Friday? That's $30 a month. That's nothing. But you get access to me, you get access to a whole bunch of other people, and there's training and learning and community and accountability. That's great. Then there's higher level stuff that's, several $100s. Okay, great. That's a workshop or it's a smaller kind of smaller program. And then of course the one-on-one becomes more expensive. But you have to like make sure that you know what your value is and put it out there. And the other thing I'll say is really important for you from a monetization standpoint is to ask for business and be really clear about it, be open about it, right? I mean, sure, people ask me, can I pick your brain? But look, I'm a business person, okay? So, for people that I work with and collaborate with or are my friends, Melanie and Indra, are perfect examples. If they want to book a 1 hour call with me, I do it no problem, no hesitation, for free because they've added so much value to this room. They've added so much value to my community, my businesses. Melanie has done amazing work for the Thought Leadership Brand Club community as well. She's like my second in command on the leadership team. And so I will go to bat for her. And Indra's done so well here, I'll go to bat for her too, and I'll support her and promote her. But for people who you don't know or are extended connections, there's nothing wrong with saying, "Listen, I'd love to have a call with you. Here's my booking fee, or here's the rate I have for those types of calls." But what I tell people is like, in that half an hour, I'm going to give you so much information customized to exactly what you want. That's okay. So one of the monetization I'll tell you is that you have to ask for business. You have to be willing to ask for business. A lot of people struggle with that. They struggle with that, and they struggle with getting to the point where they can actually close those deals. And so, the digital business aspect is building that presence, building that thought leadership brand, building that authority and expertise, and starting to get people into your circle and your networks, and then starting those conversations where it can lead to saying, "Hey, listen, if you're looking for more, I can help you," and you identify those things. So I just want to point that out. Rachel, I want to ask you another question, which is, I mean, from your business perspective, I mean, what is the challenge then when it comes to you trying to grow or monetize your business specifically?
I would say, that's a really good question. I'd say some things are different in the Web3 space, working on DAOs. Something I would say, energetically, I observe a lot of people on DAOs that are doing a lot of work on a volunteer basis. And I think it's really on a case by case basis, if that makes sense to you, if that feels good for you. But I think if you wanted to monetize your time more, that's something that can be definitely implemented more in the Web3 space. Because a lot of DAOs, I've observed that people basically just should vocalize if they want to get compensated and monetize their business. Something else you were
Sorry, what's a DAO? You
so
have
a
to educate
DAO,
me here.
so a
What's a
DAO is
DAO?
a decentralized autonomous organization. So essentially, it's in theory an organization that operates decentrally using autonomous voting systems. Like you would use a tool such as Snapshot to vote decentrally on a decision. So no, basically, it basically alleviates centralized systems of control and is basically trying to promote a more equitable, fair solution for organizations. So it's not so top to bottom or like everyone at the bottom doing the work and the person at the top getting richer and richer. It's more equitable solution for equal wealth distribution, and also giving everyone a voice at the organization. So some examples of really big DAOs would be like Gitcoin DAO, Bankless DAO. Gitcoin DAO is working on a system of quadratic funding to fund different projects through grants. That's just one example. Bankless DAO, their mission is to help people go bankless, and work more in the Web3 space. They're kind of like a starting point. So yeah, that's such a new concept, and it's actually not uncommon for people to not know what a DAO is. And sometimes I forget that working in the space, right? Like how it's not something that's adopted by the mainstream yet. But I would really like to see more
Well,
education out there on DAOs for sure.
yeah, and you know what I'd say about that is, when I was talking to a lot of people in the Web3 space, and I was actually advising them, I said, "Look, guys, uh, I've been listening to these spaces, and I've been talking to you guys for a while now, and you have a lingo, but the problem with the lingo, if you keep using it all the time, is you're not going to attract new people who are confused by what the hell you're talking about. So you have to mix it up. If it's a room just for Web3 people, go ahead, use the lingo. But if you're tweeting or you're putting stuff out there and you're talking to people that are where there's a target audience
Mm-hmm.
that's potentially your market, you have to not use the
Yeah,
lingo,
it needs to
you know.
be like just watered down in layman's terms. If we want to achieve mass adoption and get people using these more equitable, decentralized solutions, it has to be understandable, right? I think people get a little
Yes.
intimidated when they hear about all the tech and basically something like a challenge we're facing in Web3 is doing that, is making things more user friendly and accessible. And like, you shouldn't have to know how to code in Solidity to process a transaction, or go through a 20-minute process of processing a MetaMask transaction. So something in Web3 I've noticed, just a common not a pain point, but just something people are being more mindful of, is how do we make this a more user friendly experience, something digestible for the average human.
Yeah, because after you talking about this, I still have no idea how you make money, Rachel.
So I hired myself through Opolis. So I currently work with a digital employment cooperative. So we help people in the Web3 space and Web2 space, actually. This is just for any independent business owner, actually. So I'm contracted through this organization with my own LLC. So in doing that, I'm eligible for all these benefits: medical, dental, vision, 401k, which is actually not very common in the Web3 space when it comes to people working on DAOs and like a co-op such as this. So a big part of what we're doing is we aim to democratize employment and help empower individuals to become their own boss and run their own business. So yeah, a lot of things you were saying were resonating with me just based on the work I'm doing. And
Yeah, because so again, just so I'm clear
mhm.
here, you are being hired as a consultant.
Yes.
Is
So
that
I'm a
right?
consultant with my
Okay.
own business. I'm contracted through Opolis, and essentially, like, what I get is an annual W-2 and semi-monthly pay stubs. Now, that's not typical for a lot of Web3 projects. So, why Opolis exists? It was built for independence by independents. So, we aim to essentially help people that are working in Web3 or have their own business in Web2 that need access to benefits, that need pay stubs, that need a W-2. We help them get access to all of those things. We also have payroll mining too, which is essentially, people can earn in our native token for processing payroll. Um, but aside from that, like, a lot of people who earn in crypto are actually not being compliant with their taxes. So we help with that as well. So we help people. Like, for me, when I discovered this organization, I was earning in crypto, and I was like, okay, I need to be compliant with my taxes. I want to incorporate myself as a business and get access to benefits and all of these things. So Opolis helped me to do that. And we're helping, like, basically, I'm working on different DAOs, helping people to get these benefits and incorporate themselves.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. And I see some people have another person joining on stage here. Chef Jay, go ahead. Do you have a question or comment for us?
Yeah, hey, thanks. So I'm really happy I stumbled into this room. I just wanted to echo a little bit about what you were saying, Bob, with regard to providing value and how you not necessarily capture audience, but how you can captivate their attention. Almost ironically, as the pandemic sort of took hold, I was reached out to by Sage Robbins, who's Tony Robbins' wife, and I ended up doing private chef work for them for like 10 to 12 months. And the process, so I had to go through, well, the interview process was unlike anything I've ever experienced, as far as the efficiency of getting to know the person and the funneling and the filtration mechanisms, and sort of keeping you on your toes through this like interactive interview process, and then the layers of which how they would like put you in touch with one person. Once you go through that barrier, you move forward to the next. And then I had to do, once I was asked to come on and be their chef in their home, essentially they asked me to do one of their seminars. And because of the pandemic, it went virtual, and they were able to pivot so quickly. So one of the things is being nimble in your business as well. If you're a coach, if you're providing value for someone, if you're trying to offer one-on-one consultation or one-on-many consultation, it's being able to adapt to different circumstances, whether it be as massive as the pandemic or individually based. So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but a lot of what you said, Bob, is very familiar, and a lot of what I experienced when I went through, I can't recall what, I think it was like Date with Destiny or some sort of, it was a Tony Robbins event that I had to, just to get to know him personally. And yeah, so that's really cool what you're saying, and I think that you're providing a lot of value, and I think it's very true about knowing your worth and knowing your time, because I'll tell you right now, if you have a one-on-one time with someone like yourself, it is going to be significantly more expensive because of someone's attention. If it's spread, through multiple people, or it can be responded to quickly in an email, then yeah. So I think that when people, it's being able to articulate that as well is sometimes, I can imagine, a challenge. People don't seem to understand. Everyone feels that they are a priority, and you don't want them to not feel that way. But it's being able to let other people understand that, hey, if you need an hour of my time, it's going to be significantly more expensive than if I can respond via email or if you're joining a group. So just wanted to chime in with that.
Hey, thanks for coming up and chiming in. And see, that's great value to the room and to the community. So I think that's really great. And just for everyone's sake, it's Bobby or Fun Bobby or Bobby Boogie. That's the three different ways I like to be addressed.
Got it.
But yeah, I think that yeah, I think that's great. Thanks so much for that. I want to go back to Melanie Indra. You have any comments? Anything's been discussed so far, because it's been really interesting discussion.
Oh yeah, so many gems. Thanks so much, Rachel, for sharing all of what you do. Because I know we've been connected for a while. I was looking at your, just your profile, and I was also curious. I didn't really understand what it all meant until you shared it. So thank you so
No
much.
problem, Indra. I've
Yeah,
seen you also super busy. Like whenever I log on Twitter, I see you doing something and hosting some space. I'm like, you know what? Let me join. Like, you make a lot of positive content, and I just really appreciate your energy as a person. So figured I would join and connect with you today.
thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I think you may have popped into Wednesday's our regular space. It's our introvert space at 12 p.m.
Oh
Eastern
yes,
Standard
I
Time.
was in there very briefly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
I think
remember.
so. I think I remember you. And then also there's the Thursday space at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with Success Minded. So they're the two main spaces that we're having at the moment. We're giving the Monday night space, the music space, a bit of a break. Um, and also, thanks so much, Chef Jay, um, for chiming in. I have done many of Tony Robbins' courses, so and with his partner Dean Graziosi. I probably butchered that last name. So yeah, I love what they really stand for. They're very inspirational people and very interesting indeed. Uh, yeah, I was just going to say, oh, Melanie fell off the
We
stage.
lost
Over
Melanie for a
to
second, but bring her
Melanie.
back. Yeah, bring her back.
Yeah.
Melanie, able to speak? Go ahead.
Yes, now I'm back. I had a call come in and that messed up my hearing, getting a chance to hear everybody. So I was like, okay, leave, come back in. That'll work.
Yeah, so I just want to see if if you any comments on what was going on or anything you want to add, because I want to make sure that you and Indra have a chance to share a bit of your knowledge and maybe let people know what you're up to, because to help promote you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I got a bulk of what Chef Jay was saying, and one of the things that I remember right in the beginning, he said, you have to be flexible, you have to be kind of very open, and I think really kind of be bendable when it comes to your career and your business in particular, which I love that particular piece of advice, and that's something even which you, Bobby, have encouraged me to do. And, a big thing that I did, and I finally just did it. I finally just stopped trying to stress and make it perfect as I launched a networking for success group package, a group program that I'm going to do for 3 months, starting next month on a week of February 6th. It's only going to be limited to 10 people, but it's, specifically for those that are ready to take their job search to the next level, being able to really understand how do you actually network properly on LinkedIn, get connected with the hiring managers, the directors, the decision makers, the people that are going to get your foot in the door. We're in a job market right now. We're seeing a lot of layoffs still, but we're also in a very competitive job market. So super excited about that. That's, and of course, then on Friday, we launch our 3-month mastermind as well. There are still spots available for that. And super excited to be able to really just help. I'm really passionate about helping people kind of take that to the next level and being able to understand why you need to have a multi-platform strategy, but how you can do it in a way that is not going to be so overwhelming. And honestly, we've had some pre-planning sessions and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot to do. So I'm super excited about those and would love to be able to talk to anybody that might be interested. Just send me a DM. I'm more than happy to set up a time to talk and give you more details.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the fact that we're playing that multi-platform content mastermind for 3 months on Friday is that I'm learning. I'm learning too because I'm not a TikTok guy, and Ilya has all this TikTok knowledge that she's imparting, and I'm like, whoa, like I'm learning all this stuff. So I think that's great, and I'm teaching people about Twitter and how to use Twitter. So we're learning from each other as well as the three expert coaches that are there. So I think that's really good. Um, with that, we're getting close to the end of this room. But if anybody on stage has a question, I mean, I make myself accessible to answer questions about your brand, about your business, about content, about how to monetize, how to navigate the mindset, whatever you need to help you get content up there, optimize your profiles, to monetize, to build your digital businesses. That's why I'm here. So, does anybody have any questions they want to ask me specifically, or anybody else?
Yeah, Bobby. I think there's a lot of people that are, they're just starting to feel out their brand. What are some easy things for people? Because you've talked about a lot of high level stuff here, but what are some easy things that people can start, monetizing?
Well, I think the monetization piece is hard when you don't know, what exactly you're going to charge. I think that getting clarity on your brand and doing some work on, okay, here's what it costs for my hourly consulting. Here's what it costs for me to do this. Let's say a project. So, for example, Melanie, I know, for example, has done LinkedIn optimization, like for your profile. So, for example, what would it cost to just do a profile optimization? If someone asks me, what would it cost for me? I do influencer marketing. So people say, what does it cost to do influencer marketing for one post or reel on Instagram? And for the longest time, like setting the prices up is really a really easy thing to do, and it's a great exercise because you start to really think about how much your time is worth and how much money you can command and where your mindset sits at. Because if you're like well, I guess I would charge $20 an hour, and if you really reflect back, that's how much I was paying people to tutor my kids, for for that's how much I charged as a tutor back when I was in high school. So that's obviously way off, and so you have to look at that in terms of what makes sense for you and your time. Rachel, your hands up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to reach out to Melanie here and shoot you a DM, but Melanie, you're unable to accept DMs on Twitter. But I definitely want to explore LinkedIn optimization more. It's definitely something that this year I want to get more active on and just using that, because something I'm focusing on is, generating leads. So that would be really helpful to me. So Melanie, I would love to sync with you. If I can't DM you, you DM me.
One, you learn something new because again, I have
Yeah.
part of my Twitter has honestly been because Bobby has really just encouraged me to kind of start to
I'm like, just do
just
it,
to
just
show
do
up
it.
on Twitter and be like, okay, use the platform, which now I use it literally every single day.
Melanie, was it a guilt trip to announce you as a host without your permission? I apologize. I
No,
was like,
well,
oh,
you know
Melanie's
what?
coming.
I had made the comment like, "Hey, I want to do more Twitter Spaces." So this just happens to be, and actually, come the first of the year, I literally just said, "You know what? I'm just putting this in the calendar for Mondays." And so if I show up, then that gives me a reason to commit to it and be there and to show up. So one, Rachel, I will definitely connect with you and let's talk about that because again, it's not I call your LinkedIn profile probably the one of the most significant pieces of marketing and branding you can potentially have, honestly, because it is 24/7, folks. It is working for you constantly. And so that's your foundation. truthfully. That's your foundation that can always be working for you. And that's the beauty. I mean, that's the beauty of social media, is that your platforms are always working for you.
And one thing I'll add to that, Melanie, is that, you know, setting up your profile on LinkedIn or on Twitter or on Instagram tells people who you are and what you're all about. But the truth is, your LinkedIn profile tells you a hell of a lot more than a Twitter or Instagram or TikTok profile. So there is a lot of stuff there on that LinkedIn profile, from your banner image to the headline is actually quite long. That you can have a direct link to your work. You can have highlighted seconds. There's so much stuff you can put in that profile. The 29-second video you can throw in there, which again you can't do on Twitter. So like there's lots there, very rich stuff. So make sure all of you optimize your content. And if you want to learn more, come to our workshop on our mastermind on Friday. Chef Jay, go ahead with your question or comment.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Bobby, about sort of your pricing mechanism. But first, I want to say um, I really appreciate what Rachel has to offer as far as her lucid understanding of the DAO and Web3 ecosystem. It's a really refreshing perspective coming from someone who understands the constantly evolving crypto space without this constant, incessant trying to sell or shill a specific project. So, if anybody's interested in understanding how the ecosystem works, evolves, and functions, I suggest following her. That's where I get a ton of my information from. It's how I came across this room. Now, shifting back to my question about pricing, Bobby, I'm curious to know. So you mentioned about $20 per hour. What is my time worth? Often, what I've recently learned, again, kicking back to Tony, it's not what is my time worth to me. It's what is my time worth to you, right? So how do you look at it through a lens and a perspective of, let's say, ROI or what someone stands to gain?
Yeah.
Like you try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and articulate what value you're providing them versus saying, I've done this, I've gone to this school, here's what I've done, here's what my, time is worth versus here's what I can provide to you. So how do you kind of harness that narrative to tailor your pricing strategy?
Yeah, so pricing has all of the variables involved, right? So the variable of, what I might charge an hourly rate, the variable of what does my mindset believe I can get, or the research on my target audience and who I'm targeting. It's based on the outcome. So like, what is it? What's what I'm doing worth to somebody? So for example, I asked somebody when I ran my TEDx workshop, I said, what's it? If I could guarantee you a TEDx talk right now this year to elevate your brand authority, how much what would that be worth for you? How much would you pay? And people were willing to say like $2,000 or $3,000. And so that told me a lot about what I might charge for a program where I guarantee the results of getting a TEDx talk if they do the work and the methodology that I'm going to train them in, because I've done 5 of them, and I've also been accepted at 3 other ones that are rejected. So you have to look at all those variables, right? And I think the three most important ones is, number one, what is the value of the outcome that they want? Number two, what is the value of your time in terms of prep or the project or the hourly base, whatever it might be? And number three, what does the mindset and research say about how you feel comfortable and what the target audience is going to be feel comfortable in terms of paying for that outcome and your time? And so you have to balance all those things when it comes to pricing. And I'll be honest, like pricing, what's interesting is that over the years, my pricing in the beginning is always hard. So when I first started coaching a couple of years ago, I'd been teaching GMAT for people who do their MBAs for 20 years, and people say, how much does it cost per weekend course? It's $1,500. Why? Because I've been doing it forever. I know what the market bears and what the standard is, and so it's easy for me to just say $1,500. And having been a speaker for 17 years, people say, what's your flat rate for 1 hour keynote? Well, it's $5,000. And I say that because I've been doing it for years, and so I know. But when people ask me, what's your consulting rate? I say, well, it's based on many parameters and variables. It depends on you want to do monthly and weekly, and I was like, right? And it became really, really, it was in the beginning, it was really, really hard. But one of the things and same with influencer marketing, people ask me, well, it depends on the scope, blah, blah. And I would say all that, that bullshit, right? But now what happens is I now have a sheet that lays out, this is my coaching programs. Here's how much they cost. Here are the payment plans if you want them. For influencer marketing, here are my rates on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. I have it all laid out because when you have it all laid out, sometimes you still adjust it depending on the client. You may even go higher or lower, but at least I have a base from which I feel comfortable putting out there that's based on the research that's out there, based on what the outcome is. Like the influencer marketing one was, again, I looked at what people were charging for based on their number of followers and the engagement rates and what companies were willing to pay. And so when you look at that outcome that they want, that to me is a big part of it too. So I hope that you found that helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. So it sounds almost like you've kind of, when you start off, it's more of a push strategy of what you have to offer. And then as you gain momentum in the industry and you become more settled in, you have an established pricing standards where it's kind of a lot, that's where people don't feel like they're being taken advantage of or the price is specific to them. It's like, this is what it is. And then it's a pull where you ask very good leading questions to find out what they're looking for so you can be able to articulate your value that way, especially when
Well,
something
not
doesn't have a
exactly.
comp, right?
Well, not
No? Okay.
exactly. I wouldn't say that you have to wait, right? So, I mean, what you're saying is correct, but what I would say, you don't have to wait. So, if I'm working with someone who's just beginning, I can work with them to set a price right away. And here, like, because to me, having a price right away is an advantage. You set the bar exactly what you want, and it helps with your mindset, it helps with your content strategy, it helps with your building. So what you want to do is, I would say, with even someone who's beginning to build a digital business, I would say, look, what's your brand, who's your target, what you're offering, and what's the price point, and put it out there if you want, or at least have it there so that when you book the calls and people want to hire you, you know exactly what you want. Because even when I started as a speaker like 20 years ago, and I was charging $500 for a speech. It was clearly $500. I had it laid out. No, it's $500. This is what I'm charging, $500, and then eventually became 800, then 1,200, then 1,500, and it got higher and higher. So have a set price no matter where you are, and also have it vetted by someone like myself, or come to this community and be transparent about what you're charging, because based on your topic and what you're charging, and based on the industry and your brand, I can probably give you some good advice on whether you're charging too low or too high, or it's in the right zone. I actually had a client. She was part of my membership community, and she was telling me she was having trouble with the speaking thing that she was doing, and she told me a price, and I was like, "Oh my God, like that is way too high. Do you even know what these people will pay someone like you? Like that's why you're not getting any clients, because you're paying way too much." And she was saying, "Yeah, but I got a client." I'm like, "Okay, great. You got one client in 6 months. Okay, where are the rest?" I mean, sure, you can get a one $10,000 client for 6 months, and they get zero for the next 6 months, or you could get 20, $2,000 clients. You decide, what's best for you. But I told her, I said, you are completely overpricing yourself out of competition, and that's not what you want. You want to have a steady flow of business and build a reputation, and then eventually what happens is they refer you, and then you're so busy that then you're forced to raise your price, because now you're like, you can't handle the amount of flow that you have. And that's what you want to that's where you want to be when it comes to building the monetization piece, right? So many people, are willing to pay, that you want to be able to actually, now you can raise your prices, which is great. And the other thing about raising price, don't raise your price for the sake of raising price. Raise prices strategically. Okay, raise prices because you know the demands change, or you raise prices because of inflation. Make sure there's a strategic rationale behind the raising of your prices. I raised my prices. Actually, I raised my prices for coaching significantly in the last 2 or 3 years, because I just kept getting the gigs, and I kept getting more, so I kept going higher. Now I'm at the point where the people hem and haw, and that's another thing I'll say about monetization. If people hem and haw about your pricing, then they don't get the value of it. The best you can do is say, look, this is the value I'm getting. This is the outcomes you're going to get. This is what you're going to get from working with me. And this is how it's going to work. And here's the payment plan if you have a cash flow issue. But at this point, the value's here. If you don't, if you have questions about that, great. But at a certain point, I'm not going to talk to someone 3 or 4 times to convince them. There's no point. I've already done enough of a work of sharing my value, building the trust, laying it all out for them with my pricing and the outcomes and all that kind of stuff. But going after people who hem and haw about pricing is not fun. So once, one discussion, maybe twice, to alleviate their concerns, and that's it. Let it go. go after the other clients who are going to say, okay, oh, it's 5,000. Okay, great, done. Oh, it's 500. Okay, done. Oh, it's 750. Yeah, done. No problem. Same with the the mastermind up top there. You're gonna go to that thing and you're gonna see you're gonna get 3 months of support with three experts for 1 hour coaching calls for a month plus 24/7 communication support. Total cost $597. If you don't think that that's value enough, then I don't want to work with you. That's the truth. I want to work with people who see the value that they're getting, and that's kick-ass value. If you actually know how much I charge the other stuff that I do, it's and that's kick-ass value just for me. But now you're getting me and Melanie and Ilya. So to me, it's a no-brainer. Some people hem and haw, or they come back with questions, and they'll say, "Well, do you have a discount code?" I'm like, "A discount code? Come on, man, FFS discount code. Give me a break." If you know about my other stuff, this is way, way cheaper than the other stuff that I'm doing. So if you don't see the value there, coaches, 1 hour for the basic. I mean, let's say, for argument's sake, you have three coaches for 1 hour every month, plus you get to message them 24/7. Plus, they're going to give you homework. I mean, even me alone with my $500 an hour charge for consulting is worth it, right? So, but the people out there, like, you don't want to, when it comes to monetization, most of us with business, we spend way too much time going after people who are hesitant and hemming and hawing about money, and it's a waste of time. So, and I know I may sound very strong, and maybe I'm slightly ranting here, okay? But the truth is, you don't want to spend much time on it. You lay it out there. And the other thing I'll say is that's why I have levels. For people who hem and haw, here's the other level. And they're like, yeah, but I don't know. And then they don't even commit to that shit. And it's like, well, you know what? I don't want to work with you. Like, you complain about the 5,000, you complain about the 2,000, you complain about the 500. Okay, fine. Here's $30 a month. Oh, I don't know. Well, then you're not the client I want to work with. And I usually ascertain that within one or two sessions with talking to them. All right, sorry for the rant. I apologize. Uh,
That was great. Well said.
yeah, yeah, thanks. I think we should probably end the room now. So let's have some closing thoughts here. Melanie, any closing thoughts, and maybe tell us what you're up to this week?
Well, on that note, I would just say when it comes to looking at investing, you got to ask yourself, what are you worth? What is your business worth? What is your career worth? And that's going to tell you what you should be doing. And you got to make it's an investment, and you got to invest in yourself to begin with before you can do any of this stuff. So, but yeah, so this week, I'm of course I you can catch me in Clubhouse on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern in the Thought Leadership Branding Club. We have over 40. I think we're up to 44,000 members on Clubhouse, something crazy like that. And I'm on Career Coaches on Call, and on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, we have our bring a friend event to for career coaching for on Thursday and or Friday. So if you're interested in wanting to get a feel for what the community is like, please feel free. I have opened my DMs thanks to Rachel and letting me know that I did not have that little toggle switch on. And so those are now open here on Twitter. So you can send me a message and I can also send you the link. And then, of course, we have our kickoff of our 3-month mastermind on the 27th. So, and we've still got spots available for that. So, lots happening this week. So, but I definitely love to, connect, follow one another here, as well as connect on LinkedIn as well. So,
Yeah, I appreciate that. And again, the link up above the nest there to click the link, learn more about it. I mean, the other thing too is we're saying 8 people, but if there's only four, then we're going to deal with four, and now you're going to get twice the amount of time that if there were 8 people. So there's a huge advantage of being part of it and being one of the early birds as well. Indra, share your thoughts, last thoughts, and what you're up to.
Thanks so much, Bobby and Melanie. It's been fun being part of this space, and in fact, I've been learning a lot just from listening to you guys. I think that's one thing that particularly for those people that are starting off like me, we're thinking about, well, how am I going to go about this monetization piece? It's certainly wonderful to hear all the different aspects and suggestions, and also particularly Bobby, what you're doing. I just see this master plan all laid out at the different levels. So truly, it's an honor to be a co-host here with you on a regular basis, but it's also an honor to be a friend and for you to be sharing so much valuable information in this space. And I hope that a lot of people will also be in the replays listening to all of these golden nuggets. I will be having Wednesday space, which is a introvert space here on Twitter, and that's at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have a special guest, which is my beta um, modification, who is an introvert, and he has been a long time guest with the Positivity Vibe Tribe community. And then on Wednesday, I'm hosting a space with Success Minded at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So look forward to seeing all of you there. And of course, look forward to seeing you all next week, same time with Bobby next week. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. And if you'd like to join the tribe, there's a link on my profile. And also love to connect with you guys. Sending you all love, light, and blessings.
Thanks, Indra. Appreciate that. And again, for me, I run this room every Monday at 11 a.m. Next week, we have a special guest. Her name is Somi Arian. She's a LinkedIn influencer, but she's focused on Web3 business building. And that's what we're going to talk about. So if you want to join us next week, definitely look out for that. You can always follow me to get notified of what all the things that I'm doing. I'm running a room tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern on LinkedIn Audio, talking about LinkedIn trends with two other experts. On Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, a LinkedIn Audio event I run with Deanna Russo, and then of course we start the multi-platform content expansion to monetize land clients. A 3-month mastermind group, 3 coaches, 3 experts, 1 hour coaching sessions each month, plus 24/7 messaging support and homework. So you can always ask us questions, ping us, and we're going to guide you along the way to help you build your platforms across multiple platforms, at least 2, but hopefully 3 or 4: TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and also teach you how to monetize. And you're going to get incredible value if you click on the link and see what that's all about. And aside from that, I'm actually going to be launching there's also a social selling strategy webinar that I'm doing actually this Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's free. Working with Bryn Tillman, who's an amazing social selling activist, not activist, social selling, advocate on LinkedIn, and Roy Kowarski. So it's going to be focused on LinkedIn social selling, but that one's free. So I haven't actually tweeted that one lately, but I'll tweet that later and I'll post that up. But you can see that. It's going to be an amazing day. So with that, if you have a question about the mastermind or anything else, or even about the Thought Leaders Brand Club, just ping me. I'm happy to share knowledge with you guys. With that, thanks so much, Indra and Melanie, for hosting. Thanks, Rachel, Chef Jane, and everyone else who came on stage to share their knowledge. I wish you guys a fantastic week. All the best to you, and we'll talk to you soon. And yeah, I forgot, Indra said, one of the best ways to get a win-win of content is take a picture of this page, share your top 1, 2, or 3 things you learned, and then share the replay. And say, hey guys, here's the replay of this thing, and it was a great discussion. Here's the 1, 2, or 3 things I learned. Join us next week, and if you tag me, I'll love it. I'll like it. I will retweet to my 500,000 followers, and that's a good thing for everybody because more people know about it, and more people will follow you as well. So I hope that makes sense. All right, guys, take care. Talk soon. I'm gonna see if I can play some music or sound effects. I think that'll be fun. Oh wait, I guess I can't play music. Never mind. All right, see you guys. Take care, and we'll see you soon. So long.
Bye, everybody.